and sorry for delays. Okay, so my name is Justina, and today welcome everybody to a webinar of Impact Revit Columns and Beams, and I will be presenting you the smart program that you can use easily and just create big buildings and complex structures by just clicking several buttons and using those elements in our library. And today's agenda is actually to link the project, Impact Revit features. I will explain several features. This will be a short introduction about the columns and beams, and we will go through the casting materials, connections, modifiers. Then we will save some elements. We will try to work on the existing project already that we, for example, received from the architect. And we will check elements in the model viewer. If you have any questions after the presentation, just feel free to ask. You can also ask them in this chat that you can see on your right side. And if you would like to get started with Impact Columns and Beams, just please contact Håkan or any of us, and we will be pleased to answer you. So let's start the Revit. You can use Revit Structure for this Impact Columns and Beams. And this is a smart program because it saves your time. You don't have to draw again those elements like in AutoCAD detail by detail. You just simply take families from the library and you can use them. So I have already a template prepared for this webinar. So if I go to webinar, I have this cover sheet that I want to fill in. So this will be webinar. Just copy, date, 10th of May. Okay, now I have filled in this cover sheet, and it means that next time I don't have to write it again, all this information. If I go to Impact, I can see that I don't have any options available yet. So that means that I have to link my project. If I go for the new project, and you can see already this information comes from this cover sheet. So I have 3 levels that I want to link, and at least one phase has to be linked also, and you can just prescribe a bit about your builder information. And now we are able to create a link. Project linked. Now I close it, and you can see that now we have more colors in our Revit. And we have this link function that we can, for example, add some additional levels or phases, and then we can just manage them with our database. And then we have a section for the elements. We have a lot of beams, columns, and other elements that we can use for our projects. I have a picture of several elements that why it is smart, it's because you can predefine already lifts and all the recesses for those elements. You can set the element material and it will calculate automatically the mass and all other things. All you need to do is just place the element and describe a bit information about height and how it should stand like and how it should be connected. Now I want to also, we have some components, like if you want to insert the lift, we have a lot of modifiers like corbel, beam end, I will show you later. We have a library of casting materials. You can also create your own casting materials, so there are many different types. And a group of casting materials is a connection. Then we have rebar configuration. That is very easy to configure the reinforcement in your elements. We also have some elements with already predefined rebar configuration. Then we have mark and save section for saving the elements in a database, and some general tools to move things around in our project. If I go to level 1, I want to draw some beams, columns. I will take a column, which will be RC rebar, for example, and then I take this size. You can also create your own size. Then I place it approximately here. And if I go for the wireframe, I can see the already predefined lift and recess. I want to rotate it just by easily clicking rotate and align it to my grid line. Okay, now I have the element. I want to place it correctly between my levels, so it will be up to level 3 and no base offset. I update the lifts because it automatically asks me if I want to update because the element has moved. And if I go to 3D, I will go for shaded. I can see that I have already predefined lifts and recesses and things like that. You can, as I said, you can predefine them in a family. And what I want to do now, this is red element. I want to save it first. So if I go to save element, and it will give element mark C1 in a database. So I just save this element. Once it is great, you can actually understand that this is saved in the database. If I go to level 1, we have another very smart function that if we just select the column and if we go to copy and rotate, we can choose the middle axis and the element will be rotated. And if I go to update status, I can see that I have exactly the same element, so it should give exactly the same element mark, but this element has not been saved yet. So if I go and save this element, I will have exactly the same element mark. So it means that I don't have many different elements. I just have one element and with different quantities. If I go to level 3, I want to draw some sloped I-beams. So if I choose pre-stressed beam, we'll go for this type. As I said, we have a big library of different elements that can be adjusted to your company standards. And then I want to draw on a level 3. Let's start from here and go up to here. Another feature in our program is that we have 3D Rebar Preview where we can see how the reinforcement is like and the strands and so on. So if I go for the shaded, I can see that this sloped I-beam is not standing so right. I can just simply go to properties and change justification. This will be set justification. I will change it to the bottom and it is automatically applied to the column. And another thing is that I have those strands already predefined in my element. If I choose this beam and go down to the properties, I have different types of strands I can use, for example, for the next project or from the previous project. So I just choose this type of strands. I have them changed. Another thing, as I told you, is that we have already predefined lifts. If you have created a new element and if you would like to insert lifts, you just simply go to insert lifts or lift settings in a family. And then if I click on insert lifts, I have many options for lift settings. It includes like lift points, how many lift points I would like to have, the lift method, and what casting material should be used. Then I have element weight that actually indicates which lift I should use for this element. And then I can override some of the settings, how the lifts they should be placed and so on. But right now I have already my lifts. All I need to do is to save this element because those two are saved and this one is still red. And this will give me a mark of B1. Okay, I have a green check mark, so it's saved. Another thing I want to tell you is that we have, as I told you, casting materials. There are a number of casting materials that you can use for your project if you need. But the smart way of using casting materials is to use connection. Connection is a group of casting materials that we can just simply apply once to our element. So I want to go for the shoe column. I will choose this type. And all I need to do is just to choose the right face. This case will be the bottom face. And if actually I have applied for the C1, this column shoe, it will ask me if I want to do the same with the other one because the other one has exactly the same name. So if I say keep mark, then it means the other element will be changed also. In a few seconds, you can see that picture like that. And the orange color means that our element has been changed. So now we have to update our model. If I click update model, I have actually two columns that I have changed at the same time. And now I need to update it. Okay, model is updated. And I have the connection already inserted in my columns. Let's try to check in the model viewer how it looks like. Of course, in the model viewer, we can't see those casting materials, as you all know. But it's very smart because we can see how is the connection like and if we have the right element mark and ID. So let's see slope beam. It's B1 as we saved, and this is C1 and C1. Okay, let's continue to the level 3. Very easy step is just simply select this section of the elements, use copy, select multiple, and just bring it 5,000 millimeters as I have in my grid lines. Another one. And now if I go to my 3D, of course I need to save those elements, but I have already, like in 10 minutes, done this 3-section building. I want to show also another way of doing beams. So if I go to the west elevation, I want to draw some reference planes. Reference planes are actually quite important in Revit because by using reference planes, you can create kind of bones for your Revit. So this will be my reference for the roof I want to create. I want to rename it. This will be rooftop. Now, if I go to level 1, I will draw some additional columns. Let's take the same type. Of course, I can change the size or take a different column. I will rotate it. Just align it. You can just also simply move it as you want. Let's change the levels. Update the lefts. So now I just copy this column and bring it to the middle. I have already 2 columns. And on the top of them, I want to draw a normal beam, but just in the same slope as this sloped I-beam. So if I go to level 3, I will go for normal beam, and we'll take, for example, this type with this size. Of course, I have many sizes, and I also want to draw on a reference plane. So I start from here up to here. Why I draw just one side is because later on I can just simply copy and rotate to the other side. Now, if I go to the west side, I will create a section so it will be easier to see. Just flip it and open it. Okay, let's change the scale. Now you can see that actually I have to connect somehow those beams and columns. So if I just go for this column and click on attach to the base, I will choose maximum intersection with this beam. I update the lifts. And then exactly after I have attached it, I have to detach from the base, detach. So that means that my elements don't move together when I change them. For this column, I will choose minimum intersection with this beam. Okay. And also detach from, okay. What I want to do now is basically I want to trim a bit this column. To do so, I have 2 options. I can do that in a 3D, or I can use a trim extend function with the reference line. If I want to do the second option, I have to go for the structure and draw a reference plane. I will just pick already existing line. And I want my column be like this with the same reference line. So if I go to impact, click on trim and extend, I will choose the beam and the reference line. I update my lifts. And now you see that this is actually the exactly the same line with the reference line, and it stands nicely and smooth with the beam. If I want to change the cutback, I can just write a cutback, and I will have a little cutback if you need. If I want to change also this beam, I have to prolong it a bit. I will also draw a reference line. From here up to here. Let's go for the trim extend. Let's take this beam. And by using tab, you can just find your reference line. And now you see that it's actually trimmed exactly in one line with the reference line. Another option, as I promised you, I can go to 3D and just simply take this beam, for example. And if I go to impact, I have this modifier section. And there is also a column top that you can use instead of trim and extend function. And this time I will be using beam end. So if I choose beam end, I have several options for the ends. And now I want to use this one. So I just simply apply it to the end of the beam, update lifts. But now I see that I have actually to rotate it. So I just go for the shortcut RO and maybe rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, now it's standing like this. It is actually straight in one line with the other sloped I-beams. You can also set a cutback. Right now it has 10 millimeters. And now just simply go to the level 3, take those elements, copy and rotate, take the middle axis. And if I go to 3D, I can see that I have quickly done my different types of beams and columns by using modifiers. I can also take this section and copy to the other side, but now it seems to be fine. Now I want to show you a bit different type of beams we can also use for our project. So if I go to level 2, because I want to have, this is level 2, I want to have some beams in between the columns. So I go to level 2. And for example, we'll draw a ledged beam with already predefined reinforcement between those two columns. So I just go for the beam, take ledged beam with rebar and this size. So I start from one point to the other. Now I have my ledged beam, which looks like this. What I can do now, I can go to 3D Rebar and I will draw some reinforcement, but I don't have actually to draw it. I can just go and click on Insert Rebar. I take the element I want to insert rebars in and then click Finish. I have a number of settings that I can set. For example, what would be the spacing, because I have 3 sections of stirrups in my element. This is like start, main, and the end stirrups. And in between, we will have 100 and 300 millimeters spacing. Everything seems to be fine, so I just click OK. It will take a few seconds, and we will have reinforcement. We are also working right now. We are releasing a new release of this columns and beams. So every time, every month, this columns and beams program actually gets faster and faster. So this was quite fast. I can see my reinforcement set in already in this element, just simply. Sometimes it's hard to see because we have those simple lines. So what you can do, you can just select the elements, go for the filter option and check none. If you choose structural rebar, click OK. That means we have only rebar selected. And if we go to visibility settings, we can set this to be as a solid. Now you can see that it actually has the exact thickness of the steel, and you can see if there are any crashes or something like that. Okay, now this is done. Another thing I want to show you is basically how to create a shop drawing. So if I just save this element first as a B2, this is saved. I select the element and just simply click on Create Shop Drawings. And then we have a number of templates that we can use for different elements. That means that they have different schedules, different paper sizes, and so on. So this time I go for beam. Of course, it will take a few seconds, and then we will have a generated shop drawing. After the shop drawing, can you show corbels and copy the beam to the other columns? Of course, we can do that also, because we also have some corbels that we can set in and then just simply paste it to the other side. It's taking a bit of time. Okay, now I have the drawing done. I can simply browse it in a project browser, but the fastest option is just simply go and open shop drawing. Now you see we have 3D preview, we have sections that we can also set in, and as I said, this program is totally adjustable to your company standards. You can have your own schedules, reinforcement schedules, casting materials, other information regarding project. So now I have those marked reinforcement bars and the schedule. Okay, it seems to be fine. Now I want to answer your question. So if I go to 3D Rebar, let's insert the corbels first. So I take the column, beam, and a column. I want to have the corbels in between. And then if I go to Impact, I can just simply click on corbel. And then we have different types of corbels with reinforcement, without reinforcement, different sizes, and so on. Let's take this type. And now I just simply have two corbels inserted. And of course, because we have changed those columns, it will ask me if I want to keep the same element mark or they should be individual columns. That means that they will be the only two columns that have the corbel. But if I want to have the corbels on the other elements, I just click on Keep Mark. And now I can see that I have exactly the same column as this one column. And if I later on insert some beams, I can also draw additional corbels, and this will be changed also. If I go to level 2, I can just also simply select this beam, go to copy and rotate, take the middle grid line, and I have it already pasted on the other side with all the reinforcement and so on. And as I said, you can also draw additional beams and corbels, and just if you click Keep Mark, all the elements will be the same. Okay, so that was about the new project. Another thing I want to show you is how to work on already created project. So if I go to my here, I will open Revit sample project that I think most of you have seen. This is project that when you install the Revit, it comes like as an example. It will take some time because this is a big project. Okay, so this is the project. It contains a lot of columns, beams, steel, and other structures. First thing, let's hide this roof as the element. And now I want to show you actually how to change those columns, because now they are actually from the Revit. And if we want to work with the impact with a project that we already received from architect or somebody, we don't have to draw again from the scratch this project. We can just take this project and replace those columns with exactly the same columns we have in impact library. So if I click on isolate this column, isolate category, I have, I think, 63 columns. And if I go to the top, I want to select all of them. And I can see that this type is a round column of 45 centimeters. If I go to impact, of course, I have to link it first. Okay, I don't need the roof. I just need new construction, create and link. This linking function is needed because we have to connect the project with our database. So if I just close it, now it has been linked. Okay, I have this column I want to replace. I have all the impact functions available right now. And if I click on column, and we'll go for round column, and I have, you see, 45 centimeters that I can use. So I have those selected, and then I just replace with the impact columns. It will take few seconds because this is a big project and we have a lot of elements. And it's very important that those columns will not be changed at all. They are already user-defined, so it means that the only impact element will be used for this column, but you don't have to change the height or something. It stays the same. So let's wait a little bit, because we have 63 columns, but this is so fast because it has to replace all the elements. Okay, I have 63 instances updated. So that means that, yeah, I have impact columns. What I need to do now is go and save the elements. That means that we already have those columns, and now we just need to save them to the database so that we can use them and work on them. I hope, guys, you are having a great weather also. I have received a question. Can you show them in model viewer? Of course. So I just save them first. I have all the 63, they are exactly the same elements. So they will be saved with one name, element mark C1. And I would recommend this program because this is really smart and you don't have to draw everything again from the scratch. And this is, you know, the future generation Revit. So we have to get used to start it. And it actually doesn't take so much time and it's very easy to use. So now I have the elements saved. And let's answer this question by going to model viewer. Let's open the project. This was this project. Here you are. We have 63 elements from that project. We can, of course, link and save the other elements and work on them, but of course, we don't have so much time. So I just simply show you that we have all of them with one element mark, C1, and they don't have been changed, and the height and user definition is actually the same. I also wanted to show you some, but I have received a question. Can you show an example of editing lifts in columns? Okay, sure. Let's go to Impact Library. It's under your server, but I have it locally. So if I go to Impact Standard, this is my standard, open the Revit. I open Elements. Let's go for the columns and take, for example, this column. So when I open the family, I can actually change the lift settings. And if I go to Impact, all the functions are grayed out, except some, like I can configure my rebar reinforcement, and I can change the lift settings. So if I go to lift settings, I have a dialog where which casting materials can be used for this element. And then I just simply describe each element with what weight it should be used with. And then I can describe a lift method and the spacing, how it should be placed, like on the element with what spacing and lift placing parameter, and so on. This is exactly the same as in Impact AutoCAD, as most of you are using. And after you have saved those settings, they can also be changed in project once you go to update lift or insert lift. But once you have configured this lift in family, you don't have to every time to go there and insert lift separately. They will be inserted automatically. And another thing I wanted to show you is that if we go this family, or if we open this family, we have family types. And if we don't have enough family types from Impact Library, like I have several right now, I can just simply go and create new type. This will be, for example, new type. And then I have some parameters that I can just simply change. And for example, the depth or width I can change to 300 and 400. And that means that next time I will be able to choose from the drop list exactly this new type. And of course, you can change the materials and so on. So all the family types can be adjusted in this family types dialog when you go to the family. And if you would like to create a new family or casting material or connection, anything like that, just simply go to this Revit folder and we have templates. We have family templates like beam template, casting material, and if you want to create some different other elements or connections and so on, just simply use metric generic model face based. And then if you want to adjust your impact production sheet that you're using, then you can just go to shop drawing templates and adjust them to your company standards, including logo and other information regarding the project. So that was it that I wanted to show you. If you have any questions, I'm waiting for them. I think it was clear enough because I was trying to explain you all the main features in Impact Revit. Can I see the hollow course? Can you draw one? Okay. This is actually the version we don't have yet released, but I have it here. Just let me close this one. Let's open our project and let's go to level 2. Then we have a hollow course. If we go to hollow course, now just simply draw model lines. Where's my model lines? Model line, okay. So just simply draw some model lines as the reference lines. Now, if I go to Impact, Hollow Core, I can choose the Hollow Core family. Of course, they are like standard default families we have in Impact Library. And then if I just go for the Hollow Core, sorry, model lines. This is a new release that I can't actually see because it has been changed a bit. Pick model lines. Okay, so if I just pick those model lines that I have just created, this one and this one, then click on Finish. And I have, of course, hollow core direction and other parameters, but I just quickly show you how to insert it. Okay, now you can see the hollow cores with already predefined holes and openings and end caps and so on that you can also change. If I go to 3D, I have all of them. And then we have like different functions, edit hollow core definition, or if we go to modifiers, we have core filling and all the other things that we have in AutoCAD. So this is how it looks like. We also can change the model lines and adjust them to the project and the heights and so on, and different definitions. Okay. Do we have more questions? Nothing from here. Okay, thank you for coming to my webinar, and I hope it was clear and you got a lot of knowledge. And if you would like to get started with Impact Revit, then as I told you, you can just contact Håkon, our colleague, and he will be able to help you. So have a good day, enjoy the weather. Show Håkon again. Yes, so this is Håkon contact details. This is his email that you can write him. He's a very nice guy. He always says yes. And this is his telephone number. So he will probably help you with this